All right. So thank you again for joining us. The goal of this webinar is to help all of you write a strong nomination for EE 30 under 30. And so we're going to help you learn a little bit more about the EE 30 under 30 program, how we approach environmental education, how we talk about leadership, and also maybe most importantly, what makes a strong nomination. And we'll also have plenty of time for questions. We'll pause throughout, and then we'll also have lots of time at the end. And this is also being recorded. I will be posting this hopefully later today within the next 24 hours, and this will be on the E30 under 30 webpage. So you'll be able to access it easily there. All right, and I guess just again wanted to thank you all so much for joining us. We're really excited to see so much interest in this program, where we really are trying to recognize and build leadership in environmental education of all forms. So thank you for being here. And a little bit of housekeeping, some kind of rules. We do ask that you stay muted so that we are not getting any background noise. We will invite you to unmute yourself if you have questions, but if you're not speaking, please do mute yourself. And also, please do not hesitate to ask us for clarity at any time. So if I'm speaking too fast, if I say something that you don't understand, you want me to repeat it, please let us know. You can let us know in the chat, and I will see it, or one of my colleagues will see it and flag it for me. So please, we want to make sure that we're being very accessible and clear in this webinar. And you can also type any questions throughout any of your questions in the chat throughout the webinar. So like I said, we will be pausing at certain times in the webinar, but please, if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat, and my colleagues will be helping me collect those questions so that we can answer them anytime we pause. And we are live captioning this webinar, so you can see little English subtitles or captions at the bottom of the screen if you would like to do so. So simply click the CC button on your Zoom toolbar, and you should be able to see those captions. And let us know if you have any issues accessing that. All right, so I wanted to quickly introduce myself. My name is Nina Hamilton. I'm the manager of EE 30 under 30 at the North American Association for Environmental Education, or NAAEE. And I also have two colleagues here today with me who are going to be helping me field your questions, and they'll also maybe help answer some of the questions. So Melissa Taggart is one of my colleagues, and the other is Madeline Halvey. And so if you see them answering questions in the chat, they are my colleagues here at NAAEE. All right, so really quickly, wanted to introduce you all to our organization, NAAEE. So EE 30 under 30 is a program of NAAEE, and we are a professional association for environmental education. And so we work with educators throughout North America, but also all around the world, all to advance the field of EE, or environmental education. You might hear me saying EE, and that means environmental education. And so we have a wide range of programs, all working to build capacity, to strengthen networks, and overall improve the field of environmental education and support educators around the world. And so you can learn more by visiting our website, which is on the slide here. All right, so I do want to get as quickly as possible to the application, because I imagine that's why a lot of you are here. But we did want to give you a little bit of a background on environmental education, because we think this might help you in writing your application and seeing how we talk about environmental education, what's important to us at NAAEE, and just what we see as really effective practice in environmental education. So first, importantly, environmental education really goes beyond sharing knowledge. It's not just about raising awareness. It's really about equipping people with the tools, skills, and motivations to be stewards of the environment. And this is very much a learning process, and it's all about developing critical thinking skills that help people make informed decisions about the environment and informed decisions to address environmental issues. So really important, it's not what to think, but it's about how to think. So we are not telling people what to think about the environment, but we're helping people we're equipping people with the skills and tools in order to address this how to think part about making more informed decisions for the environment. So environmental education gives people chances to learn about the environment and sustainability issues, including about the role that we play in the environment. And it also helps people see the connections between these social, environmental, and economic pillars of sustainability and how those pillars overlap and interact. EE also helps people build the skills to address those sustainability issues. It helps people reflect on their values and attitudes toward the environment. And also ultimately, EE can help people make informed decisions and really take the action using the knowledge and the skills that they've gained through environmental education programming. Okay, so when we think about the objectives or goals of environmental education, we generally focus on, I think we've got 5 categories here. So one is awareness. So this is to help people gain an awareness of their environment and environmental issues, but we really do encourage you to go beyond awareness. So keep in mind the following 4 categories as well. We've also got knowledge. So knowledge is to help people gain experience in and also gain a basic understanding of their environment. So attitudes to help people build a set of values and a sense of concern about the environment, and also to help them build the motivation to actively participate in protecting their environment. And another objective is to help people gain the skills that they need to identify and also solve environmental problems. And then also a very important objective is to provide people or opportunities with people or communities with opportunities to be actively involved, to actively participate at all levels of decision making to address environmental issues. And these 5 objectives are from the Tbilisi Declaration. I have a link for the Tbilisi Declaration, I think in 2 slides. I definitely encourage you to take a look at that if you haven't already. It is one of the founding documents for the field of environmental education, and these objectives are outlined in there. All right, and with environmental education, our audience can be anyone and it can be anywhere. So we're not just talking about children in schools. That is that can be one audience with EE. But EE is really a lifelong learning process. So for children, for adults, really anyone. And it can be multi-generational. You can be working with multiple age groups or generations at one time. And it can happen anywhere. It can be in the formal school system, outside of schools, in communities, really anywhere. And so, like I said, we have a couple of resources that you can read through about environmental education. One is on our website, and the second is the Tbilisi Declaration that I mentioned. So you will have this in the recording. I can also send these out in an email to everyone who registered for the webinar. So you will have these links accessible to you. All right, I think actually I will pause there really quick. Are there any questions about environmental education, how we approach environmental education? I don't see anything in the
I
chat
don't
just
see
yet.
questions yet,
Oh.
but please feel free to type into the chat as well.
Okay, well, I'll go on and talk about leadership, but like Melissa said, please do add any questions to the chat as we're going. So you may be asking, what is leadership? Since we do ask about your leadership in the application. And we recognize that leadership really shows up in many different ways. You each have your own unique leadership styles, your own unique mix of leadership traits. And with EE 30 under 30, we really are intentional about not giving you a very specific definition of leadership, because we don't want you to feel like you need to fit into a definition that you're not. But we do broadly think of leadership as leading change and inspiring others in your community, organization, or network. So you can be working at any level, from your community to maybe a global network. It's really about leading change and inspiring others. And so just to show the wide diversity of leadership traits that are out there, we put together this word cloud from a small group of our 2021 nominees for EE 30 under 30, just to see some of the themes that emerged when we asked them what makes them leaders. And so you can look at this for reference. We also posted a blog on NAA's site with this word cloud. So you can look at this for inspiration, but we really also encourage you to reflect on what uniquely makes you a leader, and to really highlight that in your nomination. And I'm not going to go through all of these examples, but all of these leadership examples are in the online application under the question about leadership. So we give you these examples just to help you think of what are maybe some specific situations where maybe you showed leadership, because we do ask about that. And so you can look through these examples and see if these give you any ideas. But these are just a few examples, and we really encourage you to think about what leadership means to you, and how you uniquely show up as a leader. All right. Any questions? Good to keep going?
Yep, seems okay.
All right. Okay, we're gonna get to the application really soon. We're almost there. So a little bit about EE 30 under 30. So building leadership is one of NAAEE's core goals. And through EE 30 under 30, we work to recognize, award, and also help build the capacity of young leaders around the world, really celebrating the diversity of leadership that shows up in communities all over the globe. And so with EE 30 under 30, we have a couple kind of categories of benefits that our awardees and our alumni receive as EE 30 under 30 recipients. So as an EE 30 under 30, you would first you would join our virtual alumni community, and this community really brings great opportunities for networking and learning with your fellow EE 30 under 30 alumni all over the world. You also get recognition. So as an awardee, we will work with you to help you share your story on NAA's platform, as well as on your own platforms, your own social media, websites, etc. And you will also receive a certificate as an awardee. You'll also have access to professional development opportunities throughout the year. And although it's not guaranteed every year, all of our alumni are eligible to apply for small grant opportunities in the years that we are able to offer those grants. And this year, we will have funding available for scholarships for the class of 2022 to attend NAA's conference this fall in Tucson, Arizona. And so we're very excited to be able to bring some of the class of 2022 in person, fingers crossed, knock on wood, to our conference in Arizona, which is a great professional development and a great networking opportunity as well. And so the program started in 2016. It's really quickly grown in its reach. So we have 180 alumni from 40 countries, now going into our 6th year. And so we're really excited to continue to grow this community. All right, so a little bit now getting into the application logistics. So the timeline for the 2022 nominations, the deadline for nominations is April 11th at 11:59 p.m. US Eastern Time. Be sure to confirm the time in your time zone, because here in the US, we have the daylight savings change coming up in the next week or two. So the time difference right now might not be the same as it is on April 11th. So make sure to confirm what that time is for you on April 11th. And then we plan to notify all of the nominees by August of 2022 of this year. On eligibility, so who is eligible first? You can nominate yourself or someone else, and you can nominate both yourself and someone else. There's no limit on the number of nominations that you can submit. So you have to be 30 years or younger on December 31st of this year. So if you are still 30 on December 31st, you can still apply. If you turn 31 before the 31st, unfortunately, you're no longer eligible, but you can nominate someone else. And you have to be currently or have been using environmental education in your work. So we do look for some experience with environmental education. Whoops. You do have to demonstrate some leadership through your work. And so you'll see this in application questions where we ask about this. And you do have to be able to complete the application in English. At this time, we only have the capacity to review applications in English, but we are not looking for perfect or fluent English. And our reviewers know not to judge your application or your nomination based on your English ability. You just have to be able to communicate about your work, about your passions, your motivations in English. And you can come from any country in the world. We have no limits on where in the world you can come from. Okay, one more slide, and then I'm going to pause one more time before we get to the actual application questions. So here's some just overall advice that we think covers all of the questions in the application. I will walk through each of the application questions after this, but wanted to give you some overall pieces of advice. So first off, concrete examples can really help make your application a strong one, particularly when you're talking about how you use environmental education. The more specific you are, the better, because this really paints a clear picture for our reviewers as they read through your application. So they really have a clear idea about what it is you're doing on the ground, what your goals are with environmental education, who you're reaching. So be as specific as possible. And this is also important for the leadership question. You want to be as specific as possible to show some examples of where you've shown your leadership. And this kind of goes along with specific examples, but detail is good. The more detail, the better. And we do give you a word count because we do encourage you to fill as much of that word count as you can. That is your opportunity to give us as much information as you can. So I believe the word count is 350 words this year, but double check the word count. and try to fill that and fill that with as much detail as you can about your work, about your work's goals, and about yourself as a leader. And also, I will note, this year we are no longer allowing supplemental documentation. If you've applied in the past, you will see that we're no longer allowing that. So detail is even more important this year. So be sure to include enough detail that the reviewers can really get a good idea about your work. Also very important, if you have been awarded other awards or recognitions in the past, that is great. That's amazing. But you do not need to list them in your nomination form. We do not consider your past awards in our selection process. We much would rather hear about your work, about your motivations, what you've accomplished through your environmental education efforts. And so, especially when you're thinking about your word limit, it's much better to give us details about how you're approaching environmental education, what your goals are, rather than listing some past awards. So, for example, instead of saying, you received this award from this institution, instead explain to us the work and the leadership that may have led you to receive that award. So you can think of it that way. And there is a question later on in the application where you can list your affiliations, and I'll go over that in a few minutes. So also very important, give yourself plenty of time to complete your application, especially if you plan to have a reference, submit a letter of support. Make sure that they know that they have to submit their letter through the link in their email before April 11th. So April 11th is the deadline for both your nomination form and for any letter of support that you're requesting. And also in Submittable, you can go in and start your nomination, save it as a draft, and go back later. So you don't have to do it all in one sitting. You can use that that feature in Submittable to give yourself some more time, give yourself some time to reflect on what you're putting in your application. And on our website, on the 30 Under 30 website, we also have some Word document versions of the application that you can download and work on offline. It's really important to remember that we don't accept submissions through the Word document. You do still have to submit your nomination through Submittable online, but we give you the option to work on an offline version if that works better for you. And just overall, tell us your story. Whoopsie. Okay, here we go. Overall, tell us your story. We want to know about your environmental education work, about your leadership, but we also want to know about you and about your motivations and your vision for the future. We want to hear your story. So some of the nominees who are most memorable are those who can tell a clear story about themselves, how they got to where they are, what their motivations are, what inspired them, and then right now, what their work is, what's their impact, and what are their goals for the future. So keep that in mind as you're writing your nomination. How can you use this nomination to tell a story about yourself and about your work? And also note, in the online application, we give a lot of advice and guidance under several of the questions. So be sure to read the application fully and read all of the guidance that we provide under each application question. Okay, any questions before we dive into the actual application questions?
Any questions, please also feel free to type in the chat. Good, thank you for the feedback in the chat. It's helpful.
Any?
Can I simply ask here instead of the chat?
Oh, sure. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, since you talked about leadership, I went through the website and the candidates, those were selected last year, 2021.
Well, I'm having a hard time hearing you. It might be easier if you do type it in the chat. I'm sorry if that will take a little bit longer, but
Yeah, there it might be a
technical
connection
reasons.
issue.
Sorry, I have some network issue. Could you
Yeah,
Hello?
could you type your question in the chat? It's really difficult to hear you. I think it'll be easier. Thank you.
Okay.
And we'll definitely get to your question, but yeah, go ahead and type that in the chat. All right, so I will go ahead and dive into these application questions. Keep typing any questions in the chat. And so the questions that you will see here on this webinar are the questions that you will see if you are nominating yourself. So on the application form, if you select, I'm nominating myself, these are the questions that will show up. But if you are here planning to nominate someone else, the questions are very, very similar. So I think the advice that we'll give here for the self-nomination questions will also apply if you're here planning to nominate someone else. All right. So the first question is to tell us about yourself. So the questions that come after this will ask more specifically about your environmental education efforts, about your leadership. But with this first question, we wanted to give you really an open space to tell us what you want to tell us about your story. So what do you want us to know about you? And now this should be generally connected to what you're talking about in your nomination form. You do want to make sure that it's relevant to the story that you're telling about your environmental education leadership. But this is an open space for you to share whatever you want to share with us. So here we really encourage you to share about your personal connection with your work. That's what you should really try to focus on in this question. So we do give this guidance in the application itself, but you can think in terms of, how did you end up where you are? What led you to where you are? What inspired you or led you down the path that you've taken so far? And then in the following questions, you go on to talk about your environmental education work. So this is kind of the start of your story. So tell us what you want about your story. And just keep in mind that throughout your nomination, we want to know not only about your work, but also the person behind your work. So about you. So this is one of your opportunities to just have open space to share about you. Okay, the second question is, how do you use education to engage people in building a sustainable future? So this is really about how are you using environmental education? How are you using sustainability education to engage people? And we encourage you to focus on work that you have done, that you've maybe done recently, or that you are currently doing. We really do not suggest including efforts that you plan to do. So for example, a big project that you're currently planning and will do, that is wonderful, and we really do want to encourage that. But for the nomination, we want to see what work you have already done, what work you've already demonstrated leadership in. So focus on work that you've already done or that you are currently doing. And so within this question, you can think of, we also give this guidance on the application itself, but some things that you can include in this question are, what are your goals or the issue that you're addressing? What are some of the activities and approaches that you're using to reach that goal? Who's your audience? And any positive outcomes or impact that you've seen so far through your work. So this could include the number of people that you've reached, but really any positive outcomes that you can include. It doesn't have to be statistics or numbers. It just include whatever outcomes you have seen so far. And please do also be very clear about about the role that you played in any activities that you describe. You don't need to go into a lot of detail about your role, because we do ask about your leadership in the next question, and you might choose to spend more time talking about that there. But in this question, we do just simply want to know, if you're working within a team or within a bigger organization, be clear about your specific role with those activities that you describe in this question. So for example, did you help with planning? Did you help implement the activities? Did you help build partnerships? Were you managing a team? That is we do want to know, we do want to be very clear on your role with any activities that you describe. And really the most important advice we have here is to give enough detail. We talked about this earlier. Give enough detail about your EE work so that we can really see how you've meaningfully incorporated EE into your efforts, into your projects. So, for example, if you're doing workshops with any audience, you're doing workshops, don't just tell us we did workshops. Tell us the goal of the workshops, and if possible, examples of any activities that you did. We really want to see that you, if you're doing workshops or really, whatever activity you are doing, we want to see that you, how you're using environmental education in those workshops, and how, and to make sure that the education that you are doing with those workshops are helping you get to your goal. So we want to be able to clearly see how everything is connected: your goals, your activities, your audience, and we do need detail in order to see that.
Nina, we have a hand raised. Caitlin Hawley has a question. Caitlin, do you want to share your question?
Yeah, sure. So you said, while it's great that we might be planning for future activities or programs, it's not something to highlight here. I'm wondering, so I'm going to be running a program that starts in June, but I'm doing a lot of the development work right now. Is that okay to share if it's at the development stage, even though the actual program won't start until after the application is due?
Yeah, that's a good question. We've gotten pretty much exactly this situation before. I do recommend trying to focus your nomination on any relevant experience that you've already had. And you can talk about maybe the upcoming project in terms of the leadership that you're already showing in terms of how you are planning it. But because we do want to see some kind of positive outcomes from the work that you describe, if you do have some experience or efforts that you can talk about that you've already done, or maybe even some preliminary outcomes maybe that you're doing, that are coming from the planning that you're doing, we do like to see some kind of outcome from your work so far. If you do have related work that you can include, that's what I would recommend. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you so much for clarifying.
Mm-hmm. And Nina, we had a question. So Manoj did write his question in the chat, and I just wanted you to also weigh in on it. Most of the candidates selected last year were founders, both for-profit and nonprofits. Do you mostly select founders, or those who are working as entrepreneurs in other organizations? Do they also have a chance? And I did respond that yes, for sure, but I really wanted your input on it.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And this is very much something that we are aware of as we're going through with the review and the selection process. And we do ask our reviewers to judge equally across all different kind of levels of leadership, or maybe regardless of what position someone is in. And so I think as Melissa mentioned, we do have alumni all across the board. We have some who have some who have founded organizations, and others who are showing leadership, who are leading change within an organization or within a program. And so I do not let that discourage you at all. As long as you are being very clear about how you are showing leadership, no matter what position you're at, you don't need to be in a classic leadership position to show leadership. So explain to us how you are leading change in whatever position you're in. What matters most is what you are doing and how you're doing it, rather than where you are. So I hope that helps answer that question.
Great. So we have a couple more questions coming in. Did you want to keep going through the application and we'll take the questions after? Or do you want to answer these questions?
Yeah, I can go ahead and answer these because they're related to this question.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so how recent does the work you've done have to be? Would work you've done in the last 5 years be considered? Yeah, so that's a great question. We don't have a specific cutoff, but I think within the last 5 years, that's perfect. If it's getting at, something you did 10 years ago and you haven't done anything since then, your nomination might not be as strong as others. But if I would recommend, if you have, if you were really active in environmental education, several years ago, but for some reason you've had to take a break, I would say be very transparent about that in the nomination, because we want to know that you are still committed to environmental education, that you want to grow through this alumni community. So if for some reason you've had to take a break, but you are looking to continue pursuing environmental education into the future, be very clear about that, because otherwise it can be difficult for our reviewers to know if environmental education is something that you were interested in, but you're not as actively involved anymore. So I hope that helps answer that question. And for question 2, which do you prioritize, the activities or the outcomes? I don't think I wouldn't say prioritize one over the other. I think both are equally important. I think what's most important with the activities is the detail. We want to see that you're really incorporating environmental education into whatever activities that you're doing, and that's where you might need to include some more detail. But we do want to hear about any outcomes you've seen from your work. And we do recognize that impact through education can be really difficult. It can take many years to see tangible impacts through environmental education. So we're not looking for like really huge impacts or statistics or anything like that. But really any outcomes that you can communicate that demonstrates the value of what you've done and how it impacted the people how it impacted your audience, that gives us a clearer picture of your story so far. Okay, I can go ahead and answer the question about word limit too. So 350 words is the maximum. So you'll see in per question. So you'll see in the application form, each question will list the word limit. And I believe it is 350 words for most of the questions. So you do need to be very strategic about what you are sharing in each question. Okay, I'm going to keep going, but please do, such great questions. Please do keep them coming. All right, so the next question is the question about leadership. So the question is, describe a specific situation or experience of yours that highlights who you are as a leader. So like I said earlier, we recognize that leadership means different things to different people. So this is your opportunity to describe to our reviewers, to our selection panel, why you see yourself or the nominee, if you're nominating someone else, why you see yourself as a leader. What are your traits or styles, that really make you a leader? So this year, we actually, if you've applied in the past, you'll see that this question is a little bit different too. We reframed this question to help you focus on really like what our reviewers are looking for. And what really helps is when you describe a specific situation of when you showed up as a leader. So for this question, I believe this guidance is also in the application. Describe to us what was the situation or challenge that you're talking about. What was the challenge that you needed to overcome? How did you overcome it? And what leadership traits or skills helped you overcome that situation? And so be as specific as you can here about about the situation, but most importantly, be very specific about what leadership traits of yours helped you overcome that. So this is I would recommend focusing more of this section of this question on talking about yourself as a leader, but we do want to hear about it in the context of a specific situation. So that specific situation could be with an initiative, with a program, an event, a campaign you were doing. Think through your experiences and think through what is one situation or experience that really best highlights who you are as a leader. And for this one, you can look back at the examples I gave a little bit earlier in the webinar, but also on the application form. There's a long list of examples like mentoring, inspiring others, bringing people together towards a common vision, things like that. You can look at that list and see if that sparks any ideas from your experiences and talk through that and explain that for our reviewers. All right. I'm going to go ahead and I think we've got, okay, we've just got a couple more questions, application questions. So I'm going to get through this and then we will pause and have lots of time for questions. So the last kind of core question of the application is, why do you want to join the EE 30 under 30 community? So here we simply want you to tell us, why do you want to join this community? And how might you benefit or grow from it? So in addition to how you might benefit or grow from it, we also want to know, how would you contribute to the 30 under 30 community? Now, we ask this because the 30 under 30 community really thrives on active engagement from all of our alumni, all of our awardees. So we want to know not only how you'd benefit, but also what you would bring to the community. And so if, just in case there's some of you on here who are nominating someone else, if you are nominating someone else, we do recommend providing a brief quote from the nominee about their interest in joining this community, just because this definitely comes across more authentically from the nominee themselves. but it's not required because we do understand some people like to keep it a surprise. But that is one recommendation we have for people nominating someone else. All right, and then I am seeing some questions in the chat. I'm going to get through my last few slides here, and then we will get to these questions. Great questions. So in the next section of the application, you'll see you have the option to include a letter of support with your nomination. So if you're nominating yourself, you can have a reference submit a letter. And if you're nominating someone else, you can invite your nominee to submit a letter. So to do that, you simply, this is a screenshot of the application. So you simply add their email in the section of the application, and that person will receive an email with instructions about how to submit their reference. They will receive a very simple form, a very simple question, just basically giving them an open space to explain why they think you should be a 30 under 30. And they must submit their letter through the link that they receive, and it must come, we must receive it before April 11th. And I really encourage you to submit this request early, so you can actually submit, you can put in the email for your reference and submit it and click send request now here. Anytime you can submit that even before you finish your nomination form. So you don't have to have finished your application in order to send this request. You can send the request at any time, and you can continue working on your nomination. So also please let your reference know that they will be receiving an email from this email on the screen, just in case it gets sent to spam. Okay, I have 2 slides left, I promise, and then I will get to questions. So as mentioned earlier, we do not recommend listing your past awards and recognitions, because we'd rather hear about the work that you're doing and your leadership. But in this section, there is a question about your affiliations and any web pages that you want to share. In this section, you can list any organizations or networks or programs that you are affiliated with. But we encourage you here in this section to focus on affiliations where you have an active role. So maybe you're a volunteer, or you're a staff, a board member, an advisor, not just affiliations where you have received an award from them, but affiliations where you have an active role in that organization or in that that initiative. And also be sure to, in this section, be sure to specify how you're affiliated. So tell us that you are a board member or an advisor or a volunteer. We want to know that. And then you can also list any social media accounts or other web pages for you or for your organization, or both. Okay, and finally, I really encourage you to look closely through the EE 30 under 30 webpage, because we have a lot of great resources on there. So you can access the online application. We only accept nominations or submissions through that online application. So you must go through that link. As I mentioned earlier, you can also preview the application and work on it offline through some Word documents that we have linked on the webpage. Again, you cannot submit your nomination through these Word documents, but you can use these to work on it offline. We also have a promotional toolkit, so you can help us spread the word. It includes graphics, social media posts, anything that you would need to help us spread the word. And we will also link to this webinar recording on the website within the next 24 hours. I'm hoping by the end of the today, US time today. And then also you can view all of our biographies of our past alumni. So you can see, you'll see like tiles with faces with their headshots on them. That's of the class of 2021. But if you scroll down, you can view all of our past alumni. It's a pretty long list. So you can look at what some of our past alumni have done. All right, so that is all of the content that we wanted to share with you. I'm going to, I'll start with the questions that we have in the chat, but please do keep adding any other questions that you have. I thank you, Madeline, for answering some of these. If you do, for some reason, need to head out right now, I just want to thank you again so much for joining. I hope you found this helpful. But if you have questions or want to hear answers to others' questions, please do stick around. All right, so let's see. Is the Tucson conference open to all or just 30 or 30 awardees alumni? I believe Madeline answered that. Yes, so it is open to anyone, but the class of 2022 will have opportunities to apply for scholarships to attend it in person. And so that scholarship will cover your flight, your accommodations, conference registration is basically a fully funded trip to attend the NAA conference. Okay, should leadership experience be defined within the context of EE, or can we share an everyday life experience? That is a really good question. And we see both. I would encourage you to describe, if you can, prioritize any situations that directly connect to your EE work or to your EE experience. But we know that, I mean, leadership shows up in all situations, and EE may not be the only thing that you're doing. I would say if you don't have a very strong example within your EE work specifically, you can share an example outside of that, but I would recommend that you somehow connect it to your EE work. So maybe you don't have a specific situation, a specific challenge that you can talk about within your EE work. If you describe a leadership situation that's outside of EE, explain that. And then afterwards, you can explain, these traits also show up in my EE work in these ways, just so that our reviewers can make that connection. But we understand that some of you may not have that perfect example maybe in your EE experience. But if you can focus on examples from your EE work, we do recommend doing that. If we are self-nominating, does the number of additional quality nominations from others factor into awards? That is a really good question. So the short answer is no, it does not matter. We treat self-nominations and nominations from other people. So if you're nominated by someone else, we treat those equally. So if you're wondering whether you should nominate yourself or have someone else nominate you, what's most important is that whoever fills the nomination has enough information and detail about your work, about your passions, about your story. So maybe that's you. Maybe you are the one who can better describe that. And you do have the option to have a letter of support from someone else to get that second person's perspective on your leadership. So in that same vein, we do not, the number of nominations that you receive, so if you receive nominations from more than one person and you also maybe self-nominate yourself, we do not factor in the number of nominations you receive into the review process. The only way that it could benefit you is if the extra nominations can provide additional information. That is the only reason why additional nominations could benefit you. But otherwise, we don't just consider the number of nominations into our decision of who gets awarded. I hope that answers that question. So are we encouraged to list our social media accounts? How can this be an add to our nominations? So great question. So this is completely up to you. I would say if you think your social media accounts maybe aren't professional, if they are more personal accounts that you might not want to factor into the selection panel's decisions, don't include those. That section is completely optional. That's not a required question, so you can leave that blank if you want. We mostly encourage you to include social media links if if you have maybe additional photos of what you're doing on either your personal account or maybe on your organization's account. It doesn't have to be your personal account. It can be an account that's affiliated with your organization or your initiative or a network that you're part of. So you don't have to include social media accounts, but if you do have accounts that include additional content or photos about your work, that does help your nomination. That can add value to your nomination. All right, any other questions? I'm gonna take a drink of water, wait for any questions. If not, I want to thank you all again so much for joining. I hope that this was helpful. This recording will be on the website by the end of the day. I will also send an email to all of you who registered with the recording and the links that I mentioned. And you can also email me at any time. My email is on the slide here. Please don't hesitate to contact me with any other questions that you have. I'm really more than happy to help. All right, and best of luck with your nominations. We're really looking forward to reading them. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you for getting this.
Bye, everyone. All right.